All right, let's start. So, hi everybody. My name is Jan Lehman. I'm the CEO and the owner of CTC Productivity. Nancy is one of my fabulous team members, and she's our Microsoft 365 guru. The group on the line today is actually a nice mix. We have some veterans who have been on like every call, and then we have some newbies. So I'll kind of back up. We've been doing over the last couple months a webinar series. And the intention is to help companies understand how they can help their employees work more productively in this virtual world. And in particular, we're focusing on how to leverage Microsoft 365. We've gone through and we've done some high-level overviews about 365, and then we've started to do some deep dives on specific apps. Today is a very different format. We're actually not sharing any specific content, but it's an open forum where any of you can ask any questions you want around the 365 platform. And we do have a number of people that could not join that sent us questions. But we're going to let you guys, since you're here, start the conversation. So we are excited you're with us. For those of you that have not attended all the sessions, or hey Nance, I can't flip.
I was typing.
All right, there we go. So for those of you that haven't attended all the sessions, you can kind of binge watch all the past webinars. The recordings are out on the CTC website on the events page. So feel free to go back out there if you're curious about OneNote or the To-Do app or anything. Those recordings are there. And that's also a place where you can be registering for our next webinar next month, and that's going to be on SharePoint. And our wonderful Walter, who's on the line, is our SharePoint expert. He's actually going to be facilitating that conversation. So please be sure to register. And Nancy just put into chat the link to register. So it's November 10th. If you can't be there, again, that recording and the recording today will be out on the website as well. So no worries. Come on, buddy. Come on. There we go. So Nancy and I love sharing this statistic. And in particular, we like sharing it with senior leaders because often they're really unaware of the waste within their organization. And it's a quote from the Wall Street Journal that says that office workers are wasting almost half of their workday because they weren't taught organizing skills to deal with the demands of today's environment. And this was pre-pandemic. So in our world right now, as we're talking about 365, you can think of this as, how do I organize my digital data? How do we organize our meeting notes? How do we organize our personal tasks or team tasks? There's lots of areas of opportunity for us to take advantage of the waste that we're seeing with this 40%. So we're super happy you're here to learn more about your technology. We also like sharing this particular slide. It's kind of just common knowledge in the IT space that companies really don't leverage the functionality within their software. And that's for technology that's been around forever. Nancy and I both do a lot of email training, and email's been around for 25 plus years, and we're still teaching companies how exactly to best leverage that particular tool. So when you think of 365, it's such a tiny percentage right now that people are using. So we're happy here to learn a little bit more. There we go. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to lovely Nancy to take it from here. Thanks.
Okay, so that chat box, hopefully you have it on your screen. This is your opportunity for you to go ahead and type your questions. As Jan mentioned, over the last several months, for those of you who have been able to participate, we have covered many of these apps. We've covered Teams, we've covered a little bit on OneDrive and SharePoint and Planner and the To-Do app, and then an overview of many of the other apps on here. So you can do one of two things. You can type your question and what burning questions you have into the chat, and then Jan will call on you, and feel free and unmute yourself and ask your question. So come on, there's no questions out there, guys?
I have a question.
Oh, good.
Walter here. So in several of your previous sessions, there's several ways in Microsoft 365 to manage tasks. And, so you can do To-Do, you can do Outlook tasks, you can do Planner, you can, do tasks in OneNote. What would you say is the preferred and or best practice of managing tasks?
So for us as individuals, okay, so you work in the company or you're a solopreneur, I really, really like the To-Do app, and both Jan and I do. Because the To-Do
favorite.
app not only is tasks that you have added, and those are tasks that you have added in Outlook pull through to the To-Do app, but also flagged emails in Outlook pull through to the To-Do app. And if your project team is using Planner, because Planner is really for project planning, it's not that great for you as an individual person for all of your tasks. But in Planner, so if you're on multiple projects and you are assigned tasks on those projects in Planner, they also are going to pull into the To-Do app. So typically the To-Do app is the personal go-to task app within Microsoft that we recommend. And whether you use tasks inside of Outlook or not, I don't care. I personally found that Outlook task, I struggled and I struggled and I struggled. When the To-Do app came out, and for some reason it pulled those flagged emails and it pulled the tasks that I put in there into this one app, I was like, hey, I actually have a task manager that I like now and that I look at on a daily basis. So that's my favorite.
I agree.
So I don't know a ton about To-Do, but so you're saying that it can pull from both Outlook, Planner, any flag, what other systems does it, can you flag something in Teams or,
I'll find the To-Do. I thought I had opened everything I needed here. So this is the To-Do app on the web, but there is also, oh, gotta love that. Okay, so I guess I will show my To-Do app on my computer since you don't even want to know the computer issues I've been having today. It's just been a breeze. So this is the To-Do app that's actually downloaded on the little app that I downloaded onto my computer. So this is my desktop app and not the web app, since there seems to be issues. And in here, these tasks are actually tasks that you've added to Outlook. The flagged emails are flagged emails in Outlook, and the assigned to you tasks are any planner tasks that have been assigned to you.
oh, sweet.
There is a third portion, and these down here are called lists. So in the To-Do app, they call them lists. In Outlook, they're called folders. They're the same thing. So it's a list in the To-Do app, and it's a folder in Outlook. And by the little people at the end of them, all three of these lists are actually shared. So it can be, this is a personal list that I decided to share. This is a project that is shared with everybody on that project. And this is a Christmas shopping list that I can share with family or friends. And that is a new thing that Microsoft is, they're working on rolling it out, that you can share tasks that are on the list that you logged in with your work email address with somebody who has a personal Microsoft account. So therefore, a Christmas shopping list or an anniversary list, a birthday list, whatever kind of list, Valentine's list that you wanted to share with somebody, whether it's in the company or whether it is using a personal email address, by the end of the year, you will be able to share that. So it's very
Can I see what you're getting me for Christmas?
Well, I don't know. I don't have anything on here. So maybe I should share that with you, Walter. And then the other thing that you already could do is that you can actually pull multiple Microsoft accounts into your To-Do app on your computer. So I have my Nancy SOS, I have my other user trainer SOS, and then I have my personal account. And so I don't have to go anyplace else. I don't have to log into something else. I log into the To-Do app and I can go and look at, okay, what tasks are assigned to trainer user, what tasks are assigned to Nancy, what tasks are on my personal list that I want to take a look at. So it's, I love it. It pulls them all together. The one thing it does not do, Walter, then you ask the question, does it do like OneNote or Teams? So in Teams, typically people are going to use Planner. And so if they're assigned to you, it's going to pull those through. If you're using OneNote and you're using the desktop app in OneNote and you add a task to the Outlook task list in OneNote, therefore it's now in Outlook, and then you have that Outlook task on your to-do app, and you can move it around and you can assign it and you can do all sorts of stuff with it.
Cool.
So just a comment. So this is possibly hard for some people to be following without the visuals. And so for sure, like what we did cover the to-do app and OneNote. And so kind of going back and reviewing those recordings on the website might help you see the actual visuals. So, so Rachel's asking a question. Nancy, you ready for a different question?
Give me 1 second to sign back in here.
Okay. And in the meantime, please just, you can open your video, raise your hand so we know you have a question, you can ask it, or feel free to enter into chat.
I gotta go find my password. I'm not sharing that with you, right?
I hope not. I love it.
Okay, so we're gonna copy the password. And then it's going to ask me to authenticate, and we highly, and all IT companies highly encourage authentication. Oh, since I authenticated earlier, it actually didn't ask me. Yay. Okay,
All right,
so go ahead, Rachel.
Okay, so Rachel's asking, so they've been using 365 much during, for remote work, and it was a good thing because of COVID, it really pushed them onto the technology. However, sounds like Rachel's having a personal struggle that many of our clients are having. She put all of the apps or a lot of the apps on her phone, and she's found that it's hard because it's hard to separate kind of work from personal life, as my phone app makes it so she's always shows available, and I feel the need to respond right away. So Nancy, do you have some ideas on how to fix that?
Okay, well, I can't show well, I could, but I don't have it set up to show the phone app. In Teams, so one of the things that they added to Teams, so if you, okay, hang on, we might have to refresh all these since it logged me out.
Nancy was having a bunch of technical issues right before, sorry guys.
And I see I still am, so yay. In Teams, up on the top right, this is the web app, and you also have this maybe in a little different spot, Rachel, on your phone, but with your picture, you have the ability to change your status. So if you go into your team app on your phone and you mark yourself busy or do not disturb, that is one of the ways, then you won't be showing available all the time. You can change this. It typically matches with what is on your Outlook calendar. So if your calendar, you have meetings scheduled, it should say that you're busy. But even when you're busy, you can get the pop-ups. If you mark yourself as do not disturb, then you won't get the pop-ups. So go to your picture, find that on your phone app, and change your availability to either busy or do not disturb. You also have the ability here to set a status message. So if you're working from home or you absolutely have a hard stop at 2 o'clock because you need to take kids someplace or pick kids up from someplace, you can tell everybody in your company what's going on, and that can become the go-to place. Now, another new thing that's coming, and Microsoft continues to make changes, which is great, but also a little bit frustrating. But one of the things that is coming is with this availability, again, I believe before year end, you are going to be able to set a time frame on that. So when you mark it as do not disturb, because you're like, I need an hour to focus on this project, you can say, okay, I want it on do not disturb for an hour, and then it will automatically toggle back to what your Outlook calendar availability is. And so you don't have to keep going in there and adjusting that and remembering when you're done with that project to go and change your availability status. Did that answer your question, Rachel?
Yeah, I think that did. No matter what I change it on here, it just seems like one of them keeps overriding the other one, and it gets goofy. My phone has a thing where I can actually set hours on it, but once I do that, if I'm working on my computer, then that overrides the computer as well, since they're linked together.
Yeah, so one of the things that I had to do on my Android phone is I actually had to go into the app settings, each of them individually, and you have to go to where notifications are on there, and you have to say, I do not want these notifications, don't pop up. Because otherwise I had, 25 different apps on my phone saying, hey, you got this, or you got this, or this is happening. And it's like, no. I don't want that. So I went into each of my individual apps and I turned off those notification reminders. So you might want to or need to do that as well, Rachel.
Okay. Thanks.
Awesome. So Nancy, I'm going to take, go ahead and enter questions in chat, but I'm going to try to get to some of the questions that we had submitted before. So one of the questions was, I don't work in Teams all the time, so how can I get notified via email that there's something I need to do?
Oh, that is a great question. So kind of the opposite of what Rachel was just asking. How do I stop all those notifications? This is like, I'm not in Teams, and how do I know what's going on? So again, right now I am on Teams on the web, but I certainly could be in my Teams app down here on my desktop. And that little picture up there at the top, if you notice when I clicked on my picture, there's a whole bunch of items here. And where you're going to go to modify those notifications are in settings. So when you click on settings, one of the options in here is notifications. And this is where you can say, okay, if I have missed activity because I'm not in here, once every hour, send me an email and let me know what conversations are happening in the teams and the channels that I am part of. And there's a drop down here. So you can say as soon as possible, every 10 minutes, every 8 hours, daily, or you can turn it off if you do not want email notifications of what's happening over in the teams that you are a part of. Something to be aware of, as Jan and I always do some product testing with each other, is that as soon as possible doesn't mean it's instantaneous. It may be 10 minutes, it may be 15 minutes. It just all depends on how all those servers sync together, because this is coming, a message from Teams is coming from the Microsoft server going to your internet provider, and then your internet provider is having to send it to your actual email address. And so there's a whole bunch of places out there it bounces around before it finally gets to you. And I think the other day when we were testing this, it took about 20 to 30 minutes for Jan, even though she changed it to as soon as possible. So, and part of that, that could have been the kind of the delay is that messages that I typed were sent through my company to Jan as an external user in my team environment. And my guess is that actually within a corporation, the soon as possible, because you're already in the same environment, potentially will be boom. I post the message, you get an email. But because there's not multiple people in our organizations, we have to work with guest users. So, and then there's all sorts of other ones on here. So teams and channels, you can also do you want the sound on? And the sound on is only going to be when you actually have the Teams app open, whether it's on the web or whether it's on your desktop computer, like down here. And then you can choose what kind of activity notifications are you going to get. All the activity notifications, new messages, reactions, and all at mentions, where you are at mentioned, only at mentions and replies. And then you can also customize it. And if you customize it, if you had been in here at all before, or actually were in our training session or webinar that we did this, in the last month, the notifications had completely changed. This used to have the option to be banner only, feed only, banner and feed, and send an email. So they've now pulled the email completely out, and you just have these options. I personally like the banner pop-up when I'm at mention, because that means, hey, they're calling me out. I have something that I need to do. But for all the other types of the team mentions, the conversation replies, the likes, the trending, I like to change those to just show in my feed only, which I did that in the Nancy user, but not in the trainer user. So I'll change those now. And then down here, this is showing and pinned channels. So in Teams, you can hide channels. So any channels that you have showing, this is the post that would happen inside of those. And so currently it's off, so I could turn that to, hey, put that in my feed as well, and tell it to include any replies to any posts there. and then channel mentions. So if a channel is mentioned, where do I want that to show up? And again, kind of my default is show those in the feed. The one that's most important, give me the pop-up to kind of annoy me, is the at mentioned, because typically if I'm at mentioned, again, like I said, that's calling me out that I need to focus on something. They need information from me.
And there's probably some of you, if you're not actively really using Teams yet, you're probably like, what the heck is a channel and all that. Go back and review the webinars on the Teams and you'll understand the at mention and banners and all those sort of things. So Nance, next question. Can you do polling on Teams meetings like you do with Zoom? Sounds like an organization is trying to switch, which is great.
Absolutely. And the polling, which is really called Microsoft Forms, that is just like SurveyMonkey. And so if your company, whether you're an individual or if you're a corporation, your company is utilizing SurveyMonkey, you could switch over and utilize Microsoft Forms. And what happens if you're in a Teams meeting, well, actually even before the Teams meeting, if you wanted to do a poll, you would just pop into your forms and you would go ahead and create a new, you know, whatever that poll or form or quiz that you wanted people to respond to. And with each of these, you do get when they're open. So let me go ahead and open this one. You can go ahead and you can grab in, oh, we didn't even need to go there. How about the share link? And I can copy this share link. I do want to change it for me, anyone, because if it's only in my organization, it's me and trainer. And I can copy that and I can quickly just paste it in the chat, just like we're doing here with the Zoom chat. In the Teams chat, I could quickly just paste it in there. Everybody could go and click on it. They could respond to it. And then I could quickly come back in here showing my screen and I could show the results of this. So if I actually went back, I did this survey for a session. And so I could have quickly popped back over here and just showing this when I did this, this training session, this meeting last week. And so everybody could have seen all of the responses to that. So it's not identical to how you do polls in Zoom, but it's very, very similar. But I would encourage you, create your poll prior, just like you have to in Zoom, prior to your Teams meeting, and just grab that link and paste it in chat and say, we're just going to take a few seconds, click on the link, respond to it. And then while they're doing that, you just get this all set up to be what you're going to share.
So all the tech companies, man, they are in like close competition with each other. So we're going to guess that there's going to be continued changes to Teams, that it looks and feels like Zoom, a little bit more seamless, because they're all fighting for that same market share. But this is kind of a workaround right now. Again, go ahead and enter if you have questions in chat, or turn your picture on and raise your hand. But Nance, I'll go on to another one. I love this one. So what are some of the most common mistakes people make when starting to use Teams?
Oh, yes. This probably is number one that Jan and I and Walter are talking with our clients about. And I would say the number one thing is not taking time to plan. And planning includes so many different pieces. So on the screen now, you see my Microsoft Teams, and I have a team here called Training Platform. And so one is, what is the name of your team, right? So how are we going to name it so that everybody knows what it is? It's easy for people to find. A second, and then identify to not only the name of it, but what is the purpose of that? And typically, if you identify what the purpose of that team and that group of people is, it's going to automatically just help you name it. The second thing is who should be members. So if you think about what's the purpose and who do we want to invite to this, how narrow is our audience or how large is our audience, that again is going to help you define that purpose and to define and give it a name and make that decision on the naming convention. Then another thing that you need to decide are these channels. Every team comes with a general channel, but you can create channels underneath of it. So if let's see, I think I have one down here that has a few more. So let's go into my cabinet one. So for instance, this is just a sample company, and my name has changed a couple times. It used to be office furniture. So we'll just say this is the office furniture team. And what they do in that company is they make cabinets and they make chairs. And you can see there's 2 hidden channels here. They make desks. And then somebody needs to market all of these activities. So as we talked about what happened here, the name started out as cabinets, and then we decided to change it, but evidently whoever in the company didn't go back and change it to just the global office furniture. And then the types of, here's all the conversations that can happen about cabinets and chairs and desks. And then we invited marketing, because marketing needs to know all the information about cabinets, chairs, and desks so that they can actually market what the products are that office furniture company makes. So those are, let's see, what else do I have on my list just to make sure that the other thing besides just the naming, the members, and the channels is up on the top here inside of each of your teams, you can add tabs. So what tabs and what do you want to integrate? So here's the posts. So those are the conversations that we're having in this particular team and channel. Here's the files that we want to put in here. This one actually is the plan. You can bring OneNote into here. There's a whole laundry list of the apps that you can connect. You could put a specific Excel spreadsheet. If you're using Power BI, you can bring in that Power BI dashboard. You can bring videos in, you can bring your graphics from Visio in, a website, and if you scroll through, depending on what your company allows you to see, you can see the list goes on and on of other apps you or your company might be using that you can go ahead and integrate into your Teams hub at the same time. But really, it is all about, you know, doing that planning at the beginning. So there's a lot of things there. But really, so the first piece is the planning piece. The second piece of common mistake is that companies are trying to go, okay, we've done all that planning, now we're throwing this out and everybody should know how to use it and they're good to go. Okay, that's a little overwhelming, as you're maybe all feeling right now, overwhelmed with all the things I went through. And so I would say the second common mistake that companies are making is they're rolling everything out at once and trying to teach everybody in a couple of hours or a day all the features, and here's how you do this, and here's the best practice, and this is what we want you to do here. Instead of just rolling out a couple features at a time and letting them go ahead and play for a week or a couple weeks or a month or whatever the capacity for new technology to absorb new technology and utilize it is for the members of that team and in the company. So the 2 things are not taking time to plan, and 2, rolling out too many features at once.
And Nancy, I want to pivot on that one, because you guys probably really are feeling that fire hose feeling right now. When we do training, we typically want everybody to be hands-on doing these things while we're talking about it. It's not possible in a free webinar with a bunch of different people from different organizations. And typically we'd be talking about your specific business environment, and it'd be easier to sort of understand the concepts if it was sort of your organization alone. So, okay, Nance, let's do another one. What is a good way to run an effective meeting in Teams?
Oh, boy, these are really great questions that we've got. So my favorite tool, besides the To-Do app, which Walter had already asked about, my favorite Microsoft is OneNote. And so looking at utilizing Teams to run effective meetings. The first would be make sure that you're actually creating the team meeting inside of Teams. Okay, come on, I got it. So going to the calendar, and then you can create a new meeting, or in a team and in a channel. So in the general channel, I have the ability up on the top right here. I can do a meet now, or I can schedule a meeting, and this is going to schedule it right in that channel. So that would be the first thing, is scheduling a Teams meeting. Then during the meeting, once everybody has joined the meeting, opening up the OneNote notebook and utilizing that before, during, and after the meeting to capture your meeting notes. So this particular OneNote notebook doesn't have anything in it. So let's just quickly, we'll just add meetings here. So now we have a section, and if our meeting was today, 2020, 10/13, so there's our meeting from 2020, 10/13. This would be the agenda, going ahead and putting that in there. And then this, when everybody knows, hey, the meeting's scheduled, I want to see the agenda, I go to OneNote and see the agenda. During the meeting, the OneNote agenda can be open up and you can go ahead and add your notes. A lot of times what I like to do is, I should have come up here and done it, is I like to put the agenda on one side and the notes on the other. And now, so here's agenda item number 1. And here's the notes that we had during the meeting. And here's agenda item number 2. And here's the notes during the meeting. And so everything is together in one place. If you do the agenda on the top and the notes below, there's nothing wrong with that. I just find sometimes it's disconnected, or you're duplicating because you're copying the agenda items so that the notes fit underneath of it. So I really like this table by putting the agenda on one side and the notes on the other side. A third thing that you can utilize are those plans. So in Planner, and if you're not aware of Planner, you know, as Jan will probably say when I'm done, go watch our video as we talked briefly of Planner. But right during the meeting, if there are action items of going right into the Planner and adding that task to Planner, so here's task, okay, well, whatever the words are. And so we're gonna add the task, and then you can open up the task, if my computer will cooperate, and go into the task card, and you can assign it to somebody. You can go ahead, so I can assign it to somebody. We'll assign it to Nancy. And you can add notes to it. You can put due dates, start dates, add all that information. In the notes, one thing that's nice to put in there, if there's a file that this references, you can do an attachment. But one of the things that I don't really like about that is because it becomes a copy again, like email. So I really like putting the link to the file that exists in Teams already in the notes so that everybody knows what file that you're working on. So I think that covered everything. Maybe one other thing is, you know, it's really hard if you're facilitating the meeting. I'm running the meeting, I'm trying to take the notes, and I'm trying to go over to Planner and add the task. So another really good practice that we talk about with all of our clients, I think both of us do, Jan, is assigning those tasks out, because these days, especially working virtually, everybody's on their computer anyway. So if you can assign, you know, Jan's running the meeting, she can say, hey, Nancy, will you go ahead and take the notes? And if Walter's in that meeting, hey, Walter, any tasks, will you go ahead and add those to Planner? And then we all have our jobs and just one little piece of running that meeting to focus on, as well as what's happening in the discussion in the meeting. But one person isn't trying to be 4 people, right? Run the meeting, pay attention in the meeting, type the notes, and type the action items. That's just a little too much for one person.
Good answer, Nancy. Yeah, and I think the other part of it too is, I mean, a lot of what we do as productivity consultants is not just teach people like, here's the 20 bells and whistles in technology, but it's how do you change behaviors, the way you work, your workflow. And one of the other things about Planner we like is, you know, before coming back into a team meeting, it's instructing everybody to go into the plan, update the status, so that you don't have to take the time in the meeting to go around the room and ask what got done. So changing behavior, getting people to do that so that in the next meeting, you're just focusing on anything that's maybe behind schedule, where there's problems, challenges. That's a great way to use the technology and change the way you work to work faster. Awesome. Okay. So Cheryl has a question. So Nance, it says, I often need to adapt to tools my clients use. Do you also recommend some kind of integrator like Zapier to deal with that? Or what's the best option? I use mainly Microsoft operating system and Office 365.
So one of the things that Microsoft has that's like Zapier, and it comes with Microsoft business accounts. I have to be careful to say almost all business and enterprise accounts, and that is Power Automate, which, am I not seeing it on my list here? They just changed the icon on it, so Power Automate. So the Power Automate app is like Zapier in that you can go ahead and create what is called a flow, which is exactly what Zapier is. It says, if this happens, then do this, and then if that happens, then do this. And there's also another website out there called If That, Then This, or If This, Then That. I don't know which one of those is before or after. But Power Automate in 365 allows you to go ahead and create those if-then statements for things to happen. And they have thousands of templates. So if you go into your Power Automate, you can scroll down and you can see, here's some of the most recent, the top picks. That shows you how many people have utilized that particular automation or that flow. Here's some, if you're working remote, here's some flows that a lot of people are using. Email, if you wanted to create some notifications, cloud approval. And then down here, if it's like, oh, it's something with SharePoint, or it's something with OneDrive or Dropbox, or even Google Calendar, the list just goes on and on and on. So you certainly can there. I see, as this popped up here, the new Power Automate desktop. So Microsoft is constantly, I did not know that, and all the things that I've read, I did not know that there was a Power Automate desktop app. So yay, I'm very excited. I like the desktop apps way better than the web apps. And it just brings things, you know, right onto your computer. So I'm gonna have to go and try that out. But Microsoft is really doing diligently working on making every app that they have look, feel, and react virtually identical across all platforms, whether it is OneNote on my desktop, OneNote on my Android device, or my iOS, or my Mac, or if I'm on the web through a browser like I am right now. And the first app that they did that with is Teams. So if you have been utilizing Teams on your desktop and maybe a tablet or your phone, you should notice that it really functions and interface is almost identical. But sorry, got sidetracked there with this new little pop-up. So that is one of the things, Cheryl, that I think could definitely help. So you don't necessarily need to go out to Zapier. Some Zaps are free, other Zaps you have to pay for. If you already have a 365 account, you can typically do almost any Zap that you would find as a flow using the Power Automate. When you have clients that are using different types of tools, it may be that you need to live in two worlds. So for instance, as Jan and I collaborate, there are some things that we collaborate and we do that all in Microsoft, just because of the nature of where it started and how we started doing our collaboration. And there are some things because Jan really, I would say, has been for years in her business a Google shop. And so there's some things just because it's easier for her not to have to change that we've stayed in the Google shop. So as we collaborate, some of our collaborations we do in Microsoft and some of our collaborations we do in Google. So both of us have had to learn both of the platforms just because of, you know, like Cheryl is saying, some of her clients, they're a Google shop. They don't want to change right now. So you just may have to step into their space and you might not want to cross. And I think, Jan, that leads us kind of a good segue into one of our questions, don't you think? We got ahead of time, don't you think?
Which one?
The one on Microsoft 365 and how it compares to what Google is changing
Oh,
from the G Suite into the Google Workspace. And so that is coming out. I don't know because I don't play in Google. That's not where I'm all the time. If the G Suite has already been replaced with the whole Google Workspace. But it really is, as I was doing a little research on that when the question came in, it's a head-to-head competitor with Microsoft 365. Now, I don't know how long they've been working on that. Since I don't follow Google, there could have been lots of things over the last months out there about it. But it could be that they're like, hey, we need to be that head-to-head competitor with Microsoft 365 because of how they're pulling people away from Google into Teams and doing all these things. So if you go and you look at some comparison charts, Google and Microsoft have very, very similar apps that do the same things. I'm not, our philosophy really is to stay in one platform if you can.
Right.
Especially for yourself. Now, just talking with Cheryl, kind of answering Cheryl's question and saying, you may need to live in both environments if that's what your clients or your external business partners are utilizing. Is there a Google shop and you're a Microsoft shop? You may need to learn how to play in the Google shop. But for yourself, for your company, for you as individual, if you're a solopreneur, independent person, the philosophy is to stay in one platform. If you stay in Microsoft, you're not going to have any issues with your files. But when you're taking a Word document and putting it up into Google Docs and then editing, someone else is editing, and then you're pulling it back down and you're editing in Word, you just get a mess because the formatting from Microsoft, Google Docs may strip, formatting in Google Docs, Microsoft may strip, and it just gets to be a mess. So stay in one platform.
Stay in your lane. Hey, Nance, so we need to wrap up. So let's go ahead and put the PowerPoint back up. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. We're both time management coaches, so we want to make sure we're ending on time. But if anybody wants to stick around and ask a few more questions, that's totally fine. Let me go ahead and, so Nancy already talked about this environment is really complicated. I mean, the power of it comes from the fact that it's really integrated and you can customize. But we're finding, like Nancy said, a lot of our clients are maybe a little naive to it and allowing employees just to go play and go crazy. It's a little bit of the Wild West. So we have some guidelines, kind of advice we're sharing with our clients because we're doing a lot of cleanup after the fact. So really do controlled exploration. Don't allow everybody access to create teams. Pilot the technology, think about how your company wants to use it. Nancy talked about the importance of planning, really thinking through this. We find quite often that software, it's supposed to be a productivity tool, but it can be a productivity hindrance if you're not rolling it out correctly, and that just kills us. So think long term and have some smart strategies around how you're going to use the technology. Just so you know, this recording will be out along with all the other recordings out in a couple days. And Nancy, if you want to enter into chat, the registration in November 10th is when we're going to be doing a little teaser on SharePoint. You may think SharePoint is really just a storage spot, but there's actually a lot of robust functionality. So Walter is one of our team members and our SharePoint expert. So he's going to be our presenter that day. So sign up for that. And then we found a lot of people think that all we do is Microsoft 365. So we're starting to add a couple slides on here. So yes, we're all about 365. We love it, as you can tell. But we definitely do a lot of work around just process improvement in general, with or without technology or possibly other technology. So that's a space we live in the consulting world. We also do a lot of one-on-one and group coaching, company-wide training, and then speaking for associations, industry groups, things like that, on all different topics related to productivity, both kind of, time management, email management, teaching leaders how to be more effective, and lots of good stuff. So a little bit more to us. So thanks everybody for being here. Again, I'm Jan Lehman, and this is my lovely Nancy Krushke. And you're welcome if you want to stick around and ask another question still, that's great. But otherwise, we're going to end the official meeting. So thanks for being here with us.